Hello, this is Keith Hall and welcome back. Today we're going to be discussing another data analysis within Excel. And today we're going to be working with this data set here, which is patients' visits. So basically we have each row represents a visit to a certain department by a doctor name. And it shows the consultation fees, the additional charges for the visit. It calculates the total bill, the amount of insurance that is covered, and the amount that is paid by the patient. It also shows the age of the patient, which we'll get into later in another calculation. But we're going to be answering a lot of different questions here, and we're going to get into a lot of different formulas within Excel. So our first question that we're going to be answering is, what is the total revenue that is generated, okay, from all patients' visits? So in other words, we're going to add up all the total bill for each visit, and we're going to come up with a total revenue. So we're going to go over here in a column that I already inserted, and we're going to be putting in a sum function, and we're going to be summing the total bill column, which is over here. Control Shift down arrow, Control backspace. Let's close out the sum function and press enter, and we get a total of roughly 1.2 million. We could double check that by highlighting every cell within this data range. Control Shift down arrow. Excel at the bottom gives you a bunch of different stats, and one of them is the sum function. So it sums up the highlighted cells, and it comes up with 1.275. If we go back up here, as you can see, the number is correct. So very simple, but let's go on to another question, and this time we're going to look into what are the top 3 departments with the highest total bill amounts, meaning that we're going to look at the department columns, okay? And what we're going to be doing is going to be summing up the total bill for each department. And then we're going to extract the top 3 departments that had the highest total bill amounts. So we're going to be able to do this in steps. So first of all, let's get a unique list of departments. So we're going to do a unique function. We're going to specify a range. So we're going to get departments. And then close out the unique function. Press enter. Okay. We could go a step further. Let's sort this by an alphabetical order. So let's wrap this unique function with the sort function, S-O-R-T, and we're going to pass it the range. And since we're only dealing with one column, we don't need to put in the sort index. In default order is ascending order. So let's close that out. Okay, now they're in alphabetical order, the departments. Now let's get the total bill by department, okay? And we can get that by using the SUMIF function. And the range here is going to be, first of all, we have to understand what we're trying to do. We're trying to get a total bill by department. So in order to do this for the SUMIF function, the first argument is the range, meaning what are we summing by? We're summing by the department. So we're going to select the department column. Okay, we're going to fix this by pressing F4, meaning that when we copy this formula down, we don't want this range to change. Press comma. Now, what is the criteria that we want to look for? Well, we're looking for, in this case, cardiology within this range here. So in other words, we're looking for cardiology in this range. So we're going to select this cell right here. We're not going to fix it because as we copy it down, we want this cell reference to change row by row. Okay. Now, what is the sum range? We're trying to sum up the total bill for each department. So our range, sum range, is going to be the total bill column. And then we will fix this. Okay. Press F4. Close that out. Press enter. We get a total for this column here. Let's copy this down. Okay. Now we got that. Now we want to get the top three out of here, meaning that let's extract the top three departments that have the highest total bill amounts. We could do that, okay, by taking a couple functions. So let's first sort it. Tab over. We're going to select the range. We're going to select this range here. And then, let's see, we're going to, we want to sort, we want to sort now by column 2 in this range. We want to sort by total bill. So we press 2 because that's the second column in this range. And then we want to do it descending because we want highest to lowest. So we press -1, close that out, and press enter. Okay. Now we want to just get the 3 returned from this range here. How can we do that? Well, we could also wrap the sort function with the take function. Take function takes an array, which is the results of the sort function. Okay, and what do we want to return? We want to return the top 3 rows in this range. So we're going to press 3, and we don't need the third argument. Press enter. And as you can see, these are the top 3 departments with the highest total bill amounts. If we go over here to dermatology, that's 179,000. So it kind of looks like that is the largest. Another way that we can evaluate this is we can insert a pivot table. Let's do a pivot table. So let's select any cell within the data range. Control A selects the entire data range along with the column headers. Up here, insert pivot table. And we want to put the pivot table in the existing worksheet. We're just going to select the cell over here. Press OK. And now we got a pivot table. Let's go over here. Okay, now what do we want to do? We want to get basically return this data set right here. So we want the departments in the rows. So we're going to select department over here from the pivot table fields and put it into the rows. Okay, now we also want the total bill column, and we want to sum the values of it. Okay, now let's sort this range from highest to lowest. Select anywhere on this cell here. Right click. We want to sort largest to smallest. And we get the same thing. Dermatology, oncology, and neurology. And as you can see, the numbers match up. So that's another question that we could answer through this data set. Now let's go on to the next one. Okay, the next one is basically we want to look at, let's go up here to the top. We want to look at what is the average consultation fee per department. So in other words, here we have a column that have consultation fees, and we want to calculate the average fee by department, okay? So again, we're gonna look at a unique list of departments. We use the unique function again. Tab over, we want to get the unique list of departments. Control Shift down arrow, Control backspace. Okay. And we could also sort this by ascending order. We want to give it the range, and then it's only one column, like I said before, and it defaults to ascending order. Press enter. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to calculate the average consultation fee by department. So we could do that by using an average if function. And now let's think about this. The average if function takes, basically you can average things by one condition. There's only one condition here, and that's by department. We could use average ifs to do this also too, and average ifs is basically, it allows you to do the same thing, but it allows you to pass in multiple conditions. So let's just use an average if, tab into that. Now what's the range? Again, we want to average by department. So the range is, we're going to select the department column. And then we want to fix this because we're going to be copying this formula down. We don't want this range to change. The criteria is we're going to pass it into this value here. Again, as the formula is copied down, it's going to pass in the next row's value. So we don't need to fix this. In the average range, what are we trying to average? We're trying to average the consultation fee. Control Shift down arrow, Control backspace. Again, we need to fix this because we're going to be copying this down and we don't want this range to change. Press close out the argument. Press enter. Okay. Now let's copy this formula down. Let's double click the fill handle. Okay. Now we can verify this by inserting a pivot table. So let's insert a pivot table. Select any cell in the data range. Control A to select everything, including the header. And let's go up to Insert Pivot Table. We're going to select a cell within this sheet. Press OK. Let's scroll over. Now let's grab the same data here. We want the departments in the rows, so let's select department, move it over to the rows, and then we want to get the average for the consultation fee. So let's get the consultation fee, scroll down. Now by default, Excel takes a numeric value and sums the values. We don't want that. We want to average it. So we just click on this area here, select value, field settings, and we want to select average. Let's click OK. Now we got the average. Again, these values are the same, except for I didn't format this range here to have 0 decimal points. So I could change either one. I could change this, they have 2 decimal points, or I can change this to have no decimal points, and it'll equal that. So let's just select this, right click on here. We want to select number format because we want to change the format for all values here. And now we want to have, let's say, currency, 2 decimal points. Click OK. And there you go. As you can see, the values equal 274.71 for cardiology. Urology is at 288.48. So we got that answered. Let's go on to the next one. Now let's calculate how much revenue is covered by insurance versus paid by patients. In other words, we have a total bill. Insurance will cover a certain percentage of that bill, and then the remainder is paid by the patient. Sometimes insurance is covered 0%, patient will pay the total bill. Sometimes it's 25% insurance coverage and they pay the remainder. So let's figure a number of things out here. Okay, so basically let's figure out one way to do it. And we're going to take the total bill minus the amount paid by the patient, which should leave us the amount that's covered by insurance. So we're going to press equal. We're going to take the total bill. Okay. We're going to subtract out the amount that's paid by the patient, and we get a certain amount. Now, in this case, it's 0 because of the fact insurance didn't cover any portion of it. So that means the amount paid by patient is going to be the total bill. But let's now copy this down. Let's see, shift page down. There's a lot of rows here. Give me a second. Page back up. Control D calculates the formula all the way down. Let's select Control up arrow, brings us back up to the top. So now we got all these values here. Okay, so if you select 1066 minus 800, it's going to give you 267. Same thing with here. Again, that's one method. Another method that we could use is we could take the total bill, okay, times the amount of insurance minus total bill times the percent covered. So basically that will be the amount that's covered by insurance. So we do an equal sign, that we take the total bill times the amount, the percent that's covered, press enter. As you can see, it's the same thing. So let's do this. Let's shift page down. Okay, Control D to copy all that entire formula down. As you can see, the values are the same. So that's just another way to do it. Okay, let's go over here. Let's calculate something else. Let's get the total covered by insurance, meaning that let's calculate basically the total amount that's covered by insurance for all visits. So we're going to be doing some product here. So, and I'll explain this as I walk through there. Let's do a sum product, copy over. The range is going to be the total bill. We're going to select the entire range here, control backspace. Okay. And then our next argument is what do we want to multiply this by? We want to multiply it by the percentage. So which is the K column. Control backspace. Let's close that out. And we get a total of $660,000. And I'll show you how to verify this. So basically what the sum product is doing is taking every value in the total bill column and multiplying it by the respective value in the K column, which is insurance covered. So it's going to take 1130 times 0%, tally that up. We're going to go down to the next one, take 1066 times 25%, whatever that value is, add that to the value of this multiplication, and so on and so forth. So we verify this amount. Let's take this, Control Shift down arrow. Again, if you look down at the bottom right at the status bar, you get 660, 862. And that matches up with that. Now, another way that you could also do total covered by insurance, we could do it a different way. We're going to sum up everything in J, which is the total bill. Control backspace. Oh, wait, I got to type in sum function. Total bill. Control Shift down arrow, Control backspace. And now we want to close that out, and then we want to subtract from that the amount that's paid by the patient, which is basically the result should be the amount covered by insurance. The total for all visits. Again, I forgot to put in sum. Sorry. And we get the same amount there. Now let's go over here. Now let's calculate a simple thing. What is for all the visits? What is the total amount that's covered by the patient? So it's an easy thing. Let's do a sum value of this column. Control Shift down arrow, Control backspace. Let's close out the sum function, press enter, and we get 614, 816. Let's verify that. And we bottom right in the status bar, 614, 816. So that's that. Now let's go on to another question that we could answer out of this data set. So now we want to see the percentage of visits with 100% coverage. So what does that mean? Let's go over to the insurance coverage. Let's go over to this value that says 100%. That means that this particular visit is 100% covered by insurance. So what we want to do is we want to take for all visits, let's tally up the total number of visits where the visit allows for 100% insurance coverage. And now we could do that is by using a CountIFS function. So let's equal CountIFS. The range, what are we going to pass in as the range? So in this case, we want to select the percentage column, Control Shift down arrow, Control backspace. And basically, what do we want that range to equal? Well, we want it to equal 100%. So we're going to press comma, press in 1. We type in 1 because this is a percentage column, meaning that this is a fraction. Goes from 0% all the way up to 100%. And 100% equals 1, basically. So we're going to close that. Now to get the percentage of visits, okay, now we have to divide that by the total number of visits in this data set. And we could do that with the CountA function. And what the CountA function does, it counts the number of cells in a range that are not empty. So we're going to go there, and the number of visits is this visit ID, Control Shift down arrow, control backspace. Let's close that out and press enter. And we get 20.2%. That means out of the total number of visits, roughly 20% of the visits have 100% insurance coverage. Okay, let's go on to our next question, and that is basically, let's find the doctor with the most patients seen, meaning that we have a column here that lists out the doctor's name. In each visit that there is, obviously someone sees that particular doctor. And some doctors may have more than one visit by multiple patients. So let's do this. Well, we want to do this in steps, and we want to get a unique list of all the doctors. Okay. So we do a unique list equal unique function. The doctor, we're going to pass in the doctor range. Okay, now this gives us all the unique doctors that appear in this data set. So now our next step is the number of visits per doctor, and we could utilize the CountIFS function. Again, equal CountIF, oops. Sorry, I'm misspelling things here. That's why. COUNTIF. And now the range is, we want to pass in the doctor's names. And we want to copy this range down. So we need to fix it. So press F4. Oops. Let's select this again. F4 to fix it, and then comma, and the next value is the criteria. The criteria is this. We don't need to fix it because we're going to copy it down. We want this cell reference to change. Okay, let's copy this down. Autofill. Okay, these are the visits now per doctor. And now we want to list the doctors with the max visits. Now there's a issue here. Sometimes, if you could see right here, we have Brian Brown with 31 visits. We also have a Danny McDonald with 31 visits. So there's going to be multiple doctors' visits that have the same number of visits, okay? So what we want to do is we want to list all of them, but we want to list only the ones that have the maximum value in this data range. So what is the maximum value? So let's do a filter function. And we're going to filter out basically this range here that we got here. N, that column N, and then Control Shift down arrow, Control backspace. That's the range that we want to filter out. And what do we want to include? Well, we want to include only the ones that have the max number of visits. In other words, let's find the highest number of visits in this data range. And whatever that is, those are the ones that we want to filter out. So we basically give it a range, the same, the range here. Control backspace. It's going to equal the maximum value. Tab into that, and the maximum is going to be determined from the same range. Close out the max function, and close out the filter, press enter. And as you can see, it brings back 5 results because of the fact that each one of these doctors has the highest number of visits, okay? And the highest number of visits happens to be 31. And that's why you get multiple results back. Okay, let's go on to the next question. What else can we ask to find some answers for our data analysis? Well, we could look at what is the highest single visit bill recorded. Okay. Now, what does this mean? The total bill we're looking at. So, what is the highest total bill in this range out of here? So we could do that by using the max function. Okay, use max, tab into that, and we want to find the maximum value in this column. Okay, 2438 was the maximum bill. Okay, now let's go a step further. Well, we don't just want the number, we want to get the associated info from this number. Which was the visit ID? Who was the department? Who was the doctor's name, etc., like that. So we could do this in multiple functions. Let's filter it first. We want to filter the range, the data range, which is basically this entire data set. Okay, control backspace. Okay. Now, what do we want to include out of this? Well, we want to include the highest bill. Okay. So we press comma, and we want to include the highest billed amount. Okay. So let's do this. So we select the data range in the total bill column, Control Shift down arrow. Let's do this, Control Shift down arrow, Control backspace. And what do we want to find in this range? Well, we want to find this amount, the highest bill amount. So equal to this, okay? Close out the filter function, press enter. Now, what does this return? Since I selected this entire range here, it's going to return every single column in this range. So if I scroll over, you could see that. Well, let's say we're only interested in certain columns to be returned. So let's go back up here. Let's wrap it with the choose cows function. Tab over. Now, out of this range, out of the filter array that gets returned, which columns do we want to return? So that's what the next values are. Okay, we want to return, let's say, the visit ID, which is column 1, out of this range. We want to, let's say, we want the department to be returned. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5th column. We want the doctor's name, which happens to be the 6th column. And we also want the highest bill, which is this column here. So basically, that's going to be 1, 5, 6, and 9. So column 9. Oops. Close it out, press enter, and that returns what we want. So out of the total bill, it matches up with this. We figured out it was visit ID 195. Department was dermatology, and it was done by Brandon Rodriguez. Okay, now let's go on to this one here. Now this is going to be more in depth here. So basically, what is the age distribution of patients visiting each department? Meaning that what we're going to be doing is we're going to be figuring out the age groups, meaning that ages between 10 and 20, 30 and 40, 60 and 70, stuff like that. So that's what we're going to be determining here. So let's go over here. Okay. First of all, I already created a helper column with age groups. So basically what I did was I want to assign each visit ID to a particular age group. In other words, let's go back over here and let's look at this entire formula here. Okay, this is the entire formula. I didn't want to all type it out for you. So basically what the switch function is doing, it's looking at the value in E7. First of all, let's look at this one, 30. The age is 30. So I'm going to be passing in a number of different conditions. That does E7, is it less than or equal to 30? And as it finds a true condition, it's going to evaluate that to 21 through 30. So that's why this is equal to 21 through 30. The next one is 35. So it's going to come back down here. It's going to come over here and come down to here. Is it less than or equal to 40? Yes, it is. And that's how it comes up with 31-41 or -40. So that's the switch function. Let's do this. Okay. Let's escape out of there. So that's step number one. Step number two is let's build a matrix here that's going to put all the values that we want to achieve. So we want to get a unique list of departments. So it's age distribution by department. So let's get a unique list of all the departments here. And you'll see more clearly what is going to happen here. Tab over here. Let's get a unique list of departments. Press enter. And now we got a unique list of departments. We could also sort this. Let's sort this. Okay. Oops, cancel. Let's go back up here. SORT, sort. And we're going to sort it in alphabetical order. Okay, now we got that. Now what do we want to put up here in the column headings? Well, we want to put the individual unique list of age groups in the column. So over here I created a list of all the age groups, 0 to 10, meaning age 0 to age 10, age 11 to age 20, and so on and so forth. And I gave it a respective sort order because I wanted to sort in this order that you appear here. Okay, so we're going to go over to this cell here, and we're going to use the transpose function here. So it's going to take this range. As you can see, it's doing it by rows. I want to transpose this so it appears in columns instead of rows. So transpose. And I want to transpose this range here. And so there you have it. Now what's going to do, we're going to fill up this matrix here. So we want to get the number of people that came in cardiology that falls within the age range 0 through 10, or age range 41 through 50. And we could do that by using the CountIFS function. CountIFS allows you to count a certain values in a range that have multiple conditions. And we're going to do this based upon two conditions. Condition 1, they have to be in cardiology. Condition 2, they have to be in this age group. So on and so forth for every single combination that you see here. Okay, so we're going to do a CountIFS, tab over the criteria range number 1. Okay, in this case, we're going to select, let's go over here. We're going to select the departments because we want to do by departments. Control Shift down arrow, Control backspace. We want to fix this because we're going to be copying this down. F4. Now now the criteria itself is going to be this value over here. And we're also going to fix a certain portion of this because not only that we're going to be copying it down, we're going to be copying it column by column. So in this case, that we're going to do is F4, okay? And we're going to fix the column. And the row is going to change all the time as we copy it down. As we copy it over to the right to the column, to the next column, we want always the value to look at what's in column P. Let's copy it over. Okay, the next thing is criteria range 2. Now we're going to be doing the criteria range is going to be basically the age group column. Control Shift down arrow, Control backspace. We want to fix the entire range because we don't want that to change as we copy it over and down. And then the criteria itself is going to be the values that appear in these column headings. Okay, again, we're going to fix a portion of this. F4, we're going to fix the row because it's always, the value that we're looking for is always going to remain in this row, but the column is going to change. So F4, so that, press, close out the function, press enter. So what this means is for the people in cardiology, the visits is the age group range falls within 12 visits fall within this age group. So let's copy this down. Okay. And now let's copy this over. Okay. Now this is the matrix. So let's change this bottom arrow because we don't want this. We want this to be a sum of the values. So we're going to sum each individual count. So I highlighted everything. A shortcut key is Alt equal. Oops. Let's do this again. Delete. Let's delete this. Alt equal again. And it calculates the total. So this is basically the sum of everything in this column, sum of everything in this column. Okay, so that's the age distribution by department. Okay, let's go over to the right here. I want to, let's see, let's go over here. Let's go to the next one. Scroll over. Give me a second here. I want to close this out. And what we want to do next is we want to basically do this another way, but by using pivot tables. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert a couple pivot tables that calculate the same thing basically. So let's go back over here. Let's expand this. Let's go over to, let's see, let's go over here. Let's insert a pivot table over here. Give me a second. So basically we're going to duplicate this matrix that we have here just by doing an insert pivot table. So we want to insert a pivot table, select anywhere within the data set, Control A, escape, selects everything, go up to insert, pivot table. We want to insert it into this worksheet. Let's select a cell. Let's scroll over here. And we're gonna select it above here. Click OK. And now let's get the same idea. So we want the age groups on the columns, and we want the departments in the rows. So we put the departments in the rows, the age group in the columns. As you can see, it's building the same type of matrix that we have here. And now what do we want to fill this range with? Well, again, we want to get the age group distribution. And we want to get a count of it. So we take the age. Instead of a sum of age, we want to count. Click on here, select value field settings, count, press enter, and as you can see, this matches up with this matrix. So I'm doing this so you understand there are multiple ways to come up with the same value, okay? So let's build another pivot table, but let's build the pivot table in a different way. But basically it displays the same thing, but in a different fashion. So let's go over here. So it's gonna be over here. Okay, let's select the data set again. Control A. Insert pivot tables. Existing. Let's select the cell where we want to put it. Okay, let's do here. Let's select over here. Actually, let's go over here. Just a second. Okay, now this time, again, we're going to put the departments in the rows. Instead of putting the age group up in columns, we're going to put basically age group below each department. So basically, we're going to select the age this time. Okay, and then we're going to sum up the age and the values. But this time we want to group these numbers here represent the ages and the ages column of the data set. So what we want to do is we want to group this. So we select this value here, right click, and we want to select group. And how do we want to group it by? We're going to start with a value of 0. We're going to tab down here, and it's going to end at 100 because we have ages ranging from obviously not necessarily 0, but 1 to 100. And then we want to group it by groups of 10. And as you can see here, now it calculates the age groups, okay? But here now, the difference here is we want to change this. Remember, Excel defaults to summing numeric values. We don't want the sum, we want the count of it. So we're going to come over here to the right, click on in the values area, sum, age, and value field settings, and we want to select count. Let's do that. So now let's go over here. So we got calendology from, so let's look at all these values here. Okay. So over here, we got 12 as the first one. If we look at 60 through 69, 60, uh, uh, oh, basically, I grouped them a little bit different. Let's group these a little differently here so they match up with what's over here. So we want to start with 1 to 100 grouped by 10. So there we go. Now we got it correct. So 61 through 70, 61 through 70 is 12. So you know that it's matching up. So that's that. Okay. Now let's do this a little bit differently. Let's get a different result, and we're going to be using a group by function. So the group by function is, let's see, let's close over here. And then let's go over to anywhere here. And then we're going to type in the group by function here. Let's actually, so it's easier over here. Let's do it this way. Let's do here equal group by function. Okay, we're going to pass in the value of the range, basically the row fields. Okay, we're going to be grouping by we're going to, first of all, let's take a step back. We're not going to get a matrix out of here. We're going to get a different result set, and I'll explain that to you in a second. So as you can see, we're going to be basically grouping by the age group field. Control Shift down arrow, Control backspace. And now common, the next value is the values. Well, within these grouping is going to be, the values are going to be the age value. So let's go over here. Let's go up. So we want to get the values for the ages, the number of times age 30 appears in this list, basically, or age 31. Control backspace. Okay, that's that. And the next value or next thing is we're going to be getting the count out of here. So press count. Okay, let's see what I did incorrectly. This is what I did. Let's see, COUNT, comma. Need that. Let's press enter. Now, as you can see, this is the age group, 0 through 10. Let's scroll up here. Let's look at this matrix so you understand what group by is doing. So instead of giving you an individual matrix like this, we're going to be getting the total count for each group, for all departments, for each group. So as you can see here, for this age group, it equals 96, and that validates over here. Let's go over to 61 through 70 age group. We get 89, and it validates over here. So that's just another way that you could get a similar answer to what is the age distribution by department? So let's go over here. Couple more questions that we can answer. I know it's a long video, but this is very important. For when you analyze a data set, you could get a lot of information out of it by just asking certain questions and then know which Excel formula is going to give you that answer. So now we're going to get department with the highest average additional charges, meaning that by department, what is the highest average of additional charges by department? So we're going to add up all the additional charges for URJ. Once we know that, we want to get the average amount out of that. So we're going to first build a unique list of departments. Tab over. Okay. Now we're going to do here, Control Shift down arrow, Control backspace. And we want this to do that. Press enter. Let's sort it again. Let's wrap it with the sort function. Oops. We got something. There we go. Now we want to get the average amount of additional charges by department. So we could do this through the average if function. Equal average if what is the range that we're going to be averaging by? Again, we're going to average by department. So we select that range, Control backspace. We want to fix this. What is the criteria? The criteria lies in this range here. We're not going to fix this because we're going to be copying this down. Okay. And then what are we averaging? We're averaging the additional charges column. And we do want to fix this range because we're going to be copying it down. Okay. Let's do this. Okay. Now the department that is with the highest average additional charges. So basically we want to filter this range here and we want to get the highest average out of this area right here. So we're going to use the filter function. We're going to select this range. We want to include the value that is highest out of this range. So we're going to select this area here, and we want that to equal whatever the max amount is out of this range. So we're going to press max. Let's close out both functions, press enter. And the highest average department that has the highest average additional charges happens to be oncology, and that's over here, 1078. Let's verify it in a different way. Let's insert a pivot table. Go over here, Control A, selects the entire data set. Let's go up to Insert, Pivot Table. We want to put it in the existing worksheet, a cell here. We're going to select that in a second. Okay, let's scroll over here so we could see what's going on. Let's build this same matrix here. So we want the departments in the rows. And we want the additional charges, again, in the values area because we want to calculate the average. So additional charges over here, Again, Excel defaults to summon the values. We want the average. Click on here, value field settings. We want to select average, click OK, and there you have it. Again, let's go ahead and change this. Instead of here, right now it's defaulting to 0 decimal points. Let's default this to a number with 0 decimal points. There you go. Everything matches up. 945 for cardiology. Pediatrics, you have 932. So that's how you do that. Now let's go on to the average payment. Okay. Now the average payment, patient payment by age group. So let's get a list of groups, okay, here. So in other words, let's get a unique list of all the group here. So I've already done this, okay. Let's go over to the age distribution tab. Click equal, age distribution. We want to get this list right here. So it's this range right here. Oops. Yes, I want to correct that. So that's what it is. It just referenced a different range in a different sheet and it brought over the same value. So now we got a unique list of all these different age groups here. Now, what do we want to do? We want to get the average payment, okay, patient payment, which is basically average this column by the groups. So to do that, we could use the average if function. Let's go average if, tab into that. So the range here is going to be an age group. We're going to select this, control backspace. We're going to be copying this down, so we want to fix this range so it doesn't change. What is the criteria? The criteria lies here. This is going to change as we copy it down, so we don't need to fix it. And what are we trying to average? We're trying to average the amount paid by patient amount. So that's going to be this range here. Okay. And we want to fix that. Okay. Let's close that out. Press enter. Let's copy this down. And we could also verify this a number of different ways, but let's do it through, let's insert a pivot table. Let's select anywhere in the data range. Control A, this selects everything, including the header. Insert, pivot table, existing worksheet. Let's select over here. Press OK. Let's scroll over here. Let's build the same matrix, only using a pivot table. And what we want to do is we want to put in the rows the age group. So we select the age group column into the rows. And now we want to select the whatever the patient paid. So we do the amount paid in the values column. Instead of a sum of it, we want the average. So let's click this value field settings. We're going to select and we want the average. Click OK. And as you can see, same thing. Let's match these up. Let's put this with decimal points. Let's right click on it. Number format, so it changes all values, not just the cell that's selected. You could select currency, and let's just round it up to 3 decimal points. Click OK. And as you can see, 623,888 matches up with this. The last value is 671,309. As you can see, it matches up. So that's how you could do that. So again, I hope this tutorial, I know it was in depth and I know it was quite long. And remember, as a data analyst, you're going to have a lot of different data sets, a lot of different criteria to look at, and you want to be able to extract information from each data set. And by asking certain questions, it's going to give you answers to that. That's important to find trends within your data. Okay. So again, this gave you a lot of information, a lot of different Excel formulas, a lot of different ways that you could validate it, basically using pivot tables. I used it in this tutorial. There's other ways that you could validate it too, but I use pivot tables mostly. Again, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for being patient throughout this video and watching to the end. Please subscribe to my channel, and also please like and share this and add any comments down below. Also, within the description, I'm going to be putting in the description why it's important to ask these particular questions for this particular data set. So look in the description for that also. Thanks again. You have a great day, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye now.